Okay, hey guys again. This is going to be the executive branch PowerPoint that we're going to go over the last few slides. I'm not really sure where y'all left off. If I don't go over everything, just you can go back through the PowerPoint. It's at the same exact spot I'm going to put this. So, I believe we left off talking about the president having the ability to carry out some foreign policy decisions with military force. So we discussed this last 2 Fridays ago. So now we're going to get into the organization of the executive branch. So this is where you get your cabinet sheet from that that you guys did while I wasn't there. So the executive branch, the president, the vice president, and his advisors are at the top. The cabinet is next, and then there's other government agencies that help these cabinets in different positions. So you don't really need to write anything down on the slide. So the executive office is the core of the executive branch. The offices are located at the White House. This is comprised of about 500 people who work directly for the president. 10 to 12 of them serve as the president's closest advisors, and the chief of staff is most important. So the chief of staff is basically like his personal assistant, and basically, I don't know if you can imagine having 500 people working directly under you, but that's what the president's job is. So I am going to go through these a little quicker than we would normally, but you guys can pause the videos and take notes as needed. So the next is management and budget. There is an Office of Management and Budget which prepares the federal budget and oversees spending in government agencies. So this federal budget is the clearest statement of administration's plans and goals for the year. I feel like we already went over this stuff, but I'm going to do it just in case. So this right here is the seal of the Office of Management and Budget for Mecklenburg County. Mecklenburg is kind of close to like Charlotte area. It is Charlotte area, so just so you guys know that. This federal budget is kind of where obviously where the federal government gets their money for the year. There's also something called the National Security Council. This helps the president direct U.S. military and foreign policy, handles matters affecting the security of the country, and includes the vice president, secretaries of state and defense, and the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of State. So this right here is Donald Trump with Mike Pence and the rest of the National Security Council. There are some other offices. These include the Office of Administration. They provide administrative services to executive offices and also respond to individuals seeking records under the Freedoms of Information Act. There's also an office called the Council of Economic Advisors. They help the president to carry out his role as economic leader. So the president names these leaders, and then the Senate approves of them like most of those positions. The primary duties of this is to give the president advice about the complex matters like employment, inflation, foreign trade, things that are happening right now. As you guys can see, there's a lot of people that are out of employment. Trade is kind of up in the air right now. Our economy is not doing too great, but that's pretty much what this office is supposed to help with. So they're supposed to be making decisions right now to try to fix that problem. And then there's the cabinet, which you guys did the worksheet on. I will give those back to you when we come back. And the cabinet is the group of presidential advisors that include the heads of the top level executive departments. The head of the Department of Justice is called the Attorney General. All of the other heads are called secretaries. The Department of Homeland Security, this is the department that came out of the 9/11 attacks. So we discussed 9/11. We watched some videos about the president giving speeches during it. So the Homeland Security Act was signed November 25th of 2002, and it created this department to improve the nation's defense against terrorism and coordinate counterterrorism intelligence, which just means that we would, we would work to be this isn't going to work very well, guys. I'm sorry. Proactive. Yeah, let me see if I can figure out how to. Where's my little icon? Okay, I'll fix it in a minute. Proactive about terrorism. So we want to be ready for if we have more terrorists. Okay, I don't know why I did that. So there are some responsibilities of the cabinet. The secretaries advise the president of issues related to their departments. So, like, the head of Homeland Security would do stuff with terrorism. The Office of Management and Budget makes the budget, or helps make the budget, obviously. So the first cabinet of the United States consisted of 4 positions. So this is George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Alexander Hamilton, Henry Knox, and I can't read that last one. I can't remember his name. Thomas Jefferson was the Secretary of State. Alexander Hamilton was the Secretary of the Treasury. This one is Secretary of War. That's Henry Knox. And this is, hold on. He's the Attorney General. I'm going to pull it up for you guys because I did for the other class. Let's see. See if we can't do this. Oops. Edmund Randolph was the 4th one. So if you guys want to stop it here and kind of take a brief look at this, that might not hurt because it is something good to know. You'll learn about it probably in American history. But the cabinet meets whenever the president determines it necessary. A lot of times the president doesn't really depend on his cabinet. And there's no comments in it about, or in the Constitution about having a cabinet. So the cabinet is not a required position in the Constitution. It's just something that has happened since George Washington. They've kind of kept it moving. And the department heads must be approved of by the Senate, like everything else pretty much. Keeps the president from getting too much power. So then we also have this thing, the federal bureaucracy. This is agencies that are below the cabinet and the employees that reside in those positions. So people in this position are called bureaucrats or civil servants. You do need to write that down. So bureaucrats or civil servants. And this is people. Hold on, let me see if I can. People that work for the federal bureaucracy. I can't write with this pen and I can't figure out how not to. The bureaucracy turns new laws into action by deciding how to apply those laws in daily life. So they must develop these specific rules and procedures for each law. So basically they can't tell you that you can't, I'll use the example I've been using, you can't go run down the street, and they can't tell you why you can't do that or what specific rules. So like, can you run in your yard? Well, it doesn't say that. That's pretty much what they do. The departments and agencies administer day-to-day operations of the federal government. So they do things like deliver mail, collect taxes, send out Social Security checks, and perform much more. They also regulate various activities like broadcasting, labor unions, banks, airlines, nuclear power plants, and many others. So right now, they've shut down banks and airlines and a lot of restaurants in North Carolina specifically to eliminate the spread of the coronavirus. That is something that the federal bureaucracy does. So, and this is also the definition for federal bureaucracy. This picture is just something that I thought was kind of interesting because it just shows the people that work for our country. I mean, yeah. So, let's see. There are also some independent agencies. That's weird how my face is behind that. I don't know if it's behind it or in front of it for you guys, but it looks weird on mine. So these are called independent because they're not part of the cabinet. So there are 3 different types. There's the executive, which are independent agencies that are responsible for dealing with certain specialized areas within the government, so like NASA. Then there are government independent agencies. These are like private businesses, which would be like USPS or the U.S. Postal Service. And then there are also regulatory boards and commissions that protect the public and do not have to report to the president. These are like the Federal Communications Commission. And with these government ones, they are like private businesses. They're technically not supposed to charge for their whatever it is that they do. Like USPS, they deliver mail. They're not supposed to charge you for that, but when you are sending a package, they charge you for it, and you have to pay postage, all that good stuff. There are also government workers. So these top leadership jobs go to political appointees, which are chosen by the president because of their executive ability. So it is chosen by their ability to do the jobs. There are also civil service workers who make up about 90% of the national government. These are clerks, doctors, lawyers, different things like that. And now we have the civil service system. So before this, we had the spoils system before 1883. And this is when government jobs went to people as a reward for their political supports. So this new merit system that is also part of the civil service system, which is where we hire workers based on their competitive examinations and merit. So if they have the ability and they can execute the job well, they're going to get the job over somebody who just knows the president very well. This merit system created the civil service system and set up standards for these federal jobs. So this Pendleton Act, this was actually an act that was passed, I'm not exactly sure what year, but it was because a president elected somebody into an office, and somebody literally got so mad that they tried to assassinate the president. So that is where this Pendleton Act comes in the civil service system to eliminate future presidents from getting assassinated because they wanted to hire one of their friends. And that's it. So you guys know, once you're done with this, go do your discussion boards. Thank you. I will upload another video for the judicial branch probably tomorrow.